Welcome back.
Hello, guys. Right, so
Hello.
we're set to go. So here you go. Thank you very much for joining us. Welcome tonight. So this is Future Sight because we've rebranded, and this is the lovely Brandon Owens come on to talk to us about LVO. So thanks, Brandon. I'm Dan, and this is Evan as usual. Yeah.
Hi, I'm still Evan.
Still, so you would tell us. But yeah, thanks for coming on, Brandon. Much appreciated. How are you?
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So well, obviously we're kicking off. We're a little bit late to the show, right? So LVO was 2 weeks ago ish. But
yeah,
so trying to catch up, but you know, time zones are what they are. So if you wouldn't mind, buddy, do you want to give us a bit of a hello and an intro to who you are and how you like be your Warmachine history?
Sure. I'm Brandon. I've been playing Warmachine for about 9 years now. I think I started sometime in 2013. And I started off playing Signar with a buddy who had a battle box, Signar Gator battle box. And we learned how to play, just the two of us. We didn't really use like YouTube videos or anything. We just read the rule book and figured it out. And which can be painful. You make a lot of mistakes when you learn how to play the game that way, but not too long into it, we found a game store locally that had a thriving group, and we started playing there, and just learned so much so fast playing with other people who knew the game well. I got very into it very quickly, bought more and more models. I still remember the first model that I bought. It was Jeremiah Cray. And the first model that I painted was a Hunter Warjack. Let me tell you, playing Signar against Khador at low point levels, and the first model you buy is Jeremiah Cray does you no favors whatsoever.
That's not a good time.
I was like, why are the red guys broken? Go ahead, sorry.
Is your buddy still playing?
He's not, unfortunately. He plays other mini games now. He played for a while.
Yeah. There's like such a plethora of choice like these days, though. It's like.
Oh, there is.
I remember when I started, I played like loads of GW games growing up, and not really played anything apart from like RPGs, like independent stuff. And then one of my mates who runs one of the big tournaments over here, Blood and Oil, like, oh, try this game out. And we all like picked our factions, and he had cricks. I was like, oh yeah, these undead robot guys look human, and he had it ready. I got like boxed into Legion because like they were one of the few that people didn't have. So yeah, they regretted that after like a couple of months when I started to actually know what I was doing. I was like, oh, this Lilith girl, she seems pretty cool. And they're like, shit. Yeah, couldn't we have two Crix players? But I suppose in Mark II that was equally nightmarish. But
I also started on Legion, but there was never a shortage of Legion players because Legion models are so pretty. There's never ever a shortage of Legion players.
I'll give you that. Yes. So obviously, just come off the big win from LVO. How did you do at CaptainCon as well? That was a bit of a straight into another weekend. You won the team tournament, right? You, Justin, and JVM?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Nice. So after LVO, I got back home on like Monday afternoon. I went back to work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday morning at 6:00. I flew to Providence. For Captain.
Oh, wow.
So very little rest in between, just straight back to another convention as far away as I can get without going into another country.
Yeah.
And
Right.
It's pretty cool.
I played.
God, sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say it's pretty cool that the big cons are actually like a bit more back and forth this year, and it's nice that you've got the option to do that.
It is. After 2020 of having almost nothing, like literally nothing for half the year, and then most of the events were canceled for the latter half of the year, having the year start off with 2 really good, really big events in the first 2 months was really cool.
Yeah.
So I felt like I should go to both if I can, and I did.
That's a great way to kick the year off.
Yeah, land on your feet for the new year. Yeah. That's cool. So let's talk about LVO itself then. So what's the general format? So we had a quick chat pre-show, but you've got a bunch of qualifiers you get to participate in, but you can just drop, right? So you get crushed in the first round, you can pick up a couple of casual games while you're waiting for the next one to start. Is that about right, or
not quite? I'll lay it out for you real quick.
On
Friday, they typically have one event that's a qualifier. Usually it's a champions event. This year they didn't do champions. They just did it as a regular master style qualifier with no restrictions. So that was on Friday. Round 1 happened from like 10 to noon, and then the team event started around noon. So I had been planning to play in the team event with 2 very good friends of mine. I wasn't planning on playing in the first Masters qualifier on Friday. So I showed up like 10 minutes before the round 1 of the Masters qualifier started, was asked if I wanted to play. And I was like, sure, I'll play 1 round and then drop. So I wrote up a lock list real quickly, and I played in that, had a great game with a friend, and then dropped and went into the team tournament.
Yeah.
Which normally would have more players. Unfortunately, this year it was only 2 teams. So
that's a bugger.
We had 1 round. Everybody had a good time with their game, and the best part is that when there are only 2 teams, both teams are guaranteed to get a sweet trophy, and Tyson always makes excellent trophies. You can see one of them in my cluttered Warmachine shit. It's like an Elvis in like Warcaster armor holding his guitar over his head like a striker sword or something.
Striker.
Oh, neat.
Elvis, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Tyson is an amazing artist and makes awesome trophies. So knowing that I was guaranteed to earn one of those trophies, and we earned it, whether we were going to get first or second, we earned it. Right? Don't tell me that second place is last place. I don't want to hear it. We both earned a trophy. So we were excited about that.
He does like
so we played that event.
Bonkers like tables and terrains like for the event, doesn't he as well?
Oh God,
puts in a lot of work.
Yeah.
Is he the guy who made those like LED Grimkin themed tables?
Yes,
I know I saw online a while ago.
Convergence one with like working clockwork in it, I think. And
yeah. That you can see under.
I think he has like.
That's amazing work.
Flight bases, if you've seen them, like I think every Crucible Guard player I think has them on Rocket Man. It's like little
they're excellent.
If you look at, I think it's figurepainters.com, I think is his website if you want to check them out.
Right.
Really correct.
The stuff, those tables I've seen are works of art.
Yeah, they are.
They really are
real.
So every year at LVO, he brings all of those tables out to the event, sets them up in the event hall, and typically at least some of the games for each event will be played on them, but you can also just play pickup casual games on it if you want.
I would just want to play pickup games on that. Like I would actually skip tournaments and just try to play as many games as I could on those tables. Like that's incredible.
They're really cool. They're beautiful to look at. I don't like playing on them so much just because half the time I don't recognize what the terrain is because it's all thematic and it looks really cool, but I'm like, what is this again?
What are the rules for this?
Is that?
Yeah, so I have to call the judge over and ask instead of a game. Yeah, or is it a farce? I just don't know because it's kind of abstract. It's like a convergence thing, but they look fantastic, and we're really lucky to have him and the things that he makes in the game.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, he brings that stuff. He is a TO, so he runs the events. Often his wife will help him at the event table and does a lot of the majority of the bookkeeping work, and players go in and check in, which, let's be real, is probably the hardest part of running a tournament, is dealing with all the players who have to go up and report their results. Yeah, and you're like, okay, give me the numbers, write them down. And then Will Rutan.
Sure you scored 124 victory CPs, not the other way around.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
no,
that's wrong.
Exactly. turns out we're not always the best communicators in our group of people, Warmachine players. So
it's like
we try.
three numbers you need to
It's so
calculate
hard.
at the end of 2 hours of play. Like, it shouldn't be this hard, but
Yeah. So, and then Will Rutan judges the events, and they're an amazing team for running Warmachine events. They're fantastic. So day one, there's that one qualifier, and there's a team event. And I only played one round in the qualifier. Typically, in a normal year, you'd have 4 rounds for the qualifier, and you'd go until you have 4 people who are undefeated or a top 4.
Yeah.
Day 2, there are 2 qualifiers. There's one that starts in the morning, and then there's another one that starts in the afternoon. The way that it works is that you get to play 2 full rounds in the first qualifier, and you can drop after the second round and start the third and final qualifier. So if you lose a game in either round 1 or round 2, you can drop and play in the third qualifier.
Oh,
if
yeah,
you
that's
win
classic.
both of those, then you go to the point of no return. And you play the third round in the second heat, you don't get to play in the third heat.
okay, right.
That makes sense, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did
reasonable.
you get? Which one did you get through on? And
So obviously I dropped round 1 on day 1
On
because
Friday, yeah.
I'm just going to play one game to do the team tournament. And then day 2, I played 3 games in the first heat of the day, which is the second qualifier, and won all 3 games. And because of the number of people we had, that meant that I was one of the number of undefeated that they needed to get to in order to close
locked,
that heat.
I'm guessing
So
you're not locked into playing the same lists
No.
in the Masters.
No,
on the
not
same
at
day.
all.
It's like a thing.
you could play a
Did
different
you-
faction if you wanted.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay, so you can. Yeah.
Obviously, there'll be people watching the stream and stuff that have never seen like how it used to be, where you could like take like different casters from different factions to these sort of events and be like, oh yeah, I'll have these pairing in this crazy format. But so what was your pairing for the qualifier then, Brandon?
I played the same thing I've been playing for months, which is Lucas and Gearhart. And the Lucas
Okay.
list is
Right.
the 2 interceptors Lucas list, and then Gearhart is the Ass Mountain list with all the assault troopers and failed experiments in it.
That's an interesting choice because I've seen a lot of people, they reckon Gearhart is, pretty much the standard, and then it's a choice between Silvestro, Lucas. Well,
Or
sorry, I
Bennett.
suppose. Yeah.
I
So,
quite like the same
sorry,
team.
I was thinking sort of Silvestro. Sorry, Silvestro. They were choosing between Gearhart and Lucas, not
And
pairing
taking
the two.
Silvestro, yeah. This is a choice, right? You've got a couple of really strong casters that can work in different things. I guess it's depending on what you want
Yeah.
to dodge, right?
So what's your thinking? What's your thinking pairing them together? Is where I want to get there. What
I
are
think
they
it's a-
covering together?
I think they're a perfect pair. I start with Gearhart because he answers so many things the faction otherwise might struggle to answer. So really strong shooting lists like Kara
Right.
Sloan or Orion. Gearhart in that style of list with all the medium base troops is really strong into those.
Right.
And it also answers certain things that are otherwise a struggle, like Assyria, for instance. There are a lot of ways that you could deal with Assyria if she didn't have Blinding Light or if Crucible Guard had access to some anti-spell technology, which we don't.
Yeah.
So Gearhart Ass Mountain deals with that very well.
Right.
And it deals with a lot of other things too. It also asks a relatively difficult question for a lot of players' pairs, which is, can you deal with this front line, very durable medium base infantry that failed experiments, and then not get blown off the board by the follow-up of assault troopers that are running up right behind them, etc. So it's a good baseline to build your pair. And if I was suggesting somebody start or choose a starting point to build a Crucible Guard pair right now, I would point to Ass Mountain and say start with that, because it covers
Fair
so
enough.
much that the faction could struggle with. So then you get to pick another caster, and you probably want to play somebody with Rayla's interceptors because they're really strong. And I think your second list wants to take advantage of some of the other strengths of the faction, which are really strong shooting. And I think that right now you're looking at Lucas or Silvestro or Bennett for the caster that you pair with Gearhart, and you probably want to put 2 trains, 2 interceptors in the list.
Yeah.
I think Lucas is the strongest of all those casters overall. He has
I think that's
more
hard
tools.
to argue with.
He's just so good. I mean, he has TK, which as a starting point is amazing.
Yeah,
Disintegration.
I mean, TK is easily the best spell in the game, and Disintegration is one of probably the top 5. So between the two,
on a caster that can make good use of it, yes. And the
Yeah.
main strength for him is that you can arm debuff any model type any turn of the game because of Disintegration, which no other caster can do. Bennett can buff your ranged damage output on models with downrange. So you can hot swap that between 2 interceptors. That's really good, but it's not the same as debuffing individual models if that's what you need to do. Gearheart can give you +2 against model units on feat turn, but only on feat turn. And Silvestro can buff the damage of a single unit or model with transmutation, but that's only single unit or model. So the fact that Lucas can debuff an Archon, both def and arm by TKing and disintegrating it, is huge that nobody else in faction can do. He obviously has board control between TK and Clouds. He's one of our most survivable casters, actually, which is a stark contrast to how he was before his dynamic update. But now he's one of our tankiest casters.
I was going to say, did you play him much in the before day of Lucas? Or
yes, sadly I did. I played like
ago.
8 games. Played like 8 games with original Lucas and came to the very swift conclusion that this ain't gonna work. This was not a good caster back then at all.
Briefly to go and see my girl who's coming downstairs. But yeah, if you guys want to start talking through your qualifying games, and I'll jump back in a second.
Cool. So so how did the qualifiers look? Who was your first victim?
There were no victims. There were only people who I got to play good games of Warmachine with. And the first one...
Let's be fair. They get to judge whether that's true.
I hope that none of them would say that they were victims after the games that we played. My first game was against Rask. I can't remember what he had Rask paired with. It was probably Jagga Jogger or Gunbjorn 2 or something. I don't remember. It doesn't
matter. Rask is still by far the top caster in their faction.
He is the top faction in Minions. He is Minions.
Minions. I mean, Azazello had his day for a bit, but it's still Rask.
Yeah, Minions has great options. I think Rask is a really powerful, potent caster that you can do a lot of different things with. He's like the Lucas of Minions, right?
He's one of the few genuine denial feats left in the game.
Yeah. So I was pretty confident he was going to play Rask into my Crucible Guard pair. I didn't really want to play Ass Mountain into Rask because he has 2 Death Archons in his list. And the things you can do with 2 Death Archons, 2 Swamp Horrors, 1 on Barney 2, with Rask. Medium bases.
Barney's horror is just as gusting, isn't it?
I'm back, and Barney's a monster in that faction, isn't he?
So that makes me not want to play Gearheart.
That's fair.
I do want to play Lucas because I have tools to do work every turn of the game, even on his feat turn potentially.
Right.
Like I can't channel under his feat because of the weird way that the feat is written, but with TK being TK, I can still move models really far, my own models. And with sprays, if he's too aggressive, I can still take pieces off the board under his feet because I can just move one of my own models as a targeting beacon and put multiple sprays downrange on something that I can boost.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, the way that game played out, I went first, and it puts him in a really terrible position because if he doesn't feat bottom of 1, he's going to lose a crazy amount of things.
But you just start taking off heavies, right?
Right, and then after that, he has no reason to feat because I'm already so close to his army, there's
there's
point.
Nothing left to defend anymore.
Yeah, so the rule in Warmachine that has very few exceptions is that if you have a defensive feat, no matter how badly you think you need to, you don't feat bottom of 1. However, with the way that Rask's defensive feat works, I think if you go second against a fast army like Lucas, you have to feat bottom of 1. I don't think you have a choice.
I'm going to challenge that. I think that used to be the case, I don't know, a year and a half, 2 years ago. I think lists have gotten so fast nowadays that that's not true anymore.
Oh, as in that you should do it, yeah. Or...
Yeah, that if you got a defensive feat, half the time you actually just need to feat bottom of 1.
I guess it all depends on the table and what you're facing, right?
and what the defensive feat is. Like, is it
Yeah.
an armor feat, right? Is it a standoff feat like Kalissa or Rask? If it's a standoff feat, I think bottom of 1, yeah, because otherwise you're not going to get value out of it because the distance is already too close.
So, yeah, I've been playing around with the Coven as well. Same story.
Yeah, same deal. Exactly.
Fast.
So if it's a feat like that and you're going second and your opponent has parked Rayless Interceptors and a Thamrite Archon and 2 Rocketman Aces and a Suppressor all like within a few inches of the center line of the table, you're like, yep, I'm feeding turn 1.
Yeah, that's it. That's what you got to do.
Yeah, which sucks. Like, you don't want to have to do that, but it's a reality. So he feeds bottom of 1. He highlight of his feat turn. He parks a Death Archon in some rubble. We were playing on Spread the Net, and the rubble was basically parallel to or right behind his flag. So it's about 18 inches from his table edge. So Death Archon in rubble, 18 inches from his table edge. So it ran up 8 inches basically. He feeded. And start of my turn, I'm like, all right, so Barney Zero is up here. If I engineered some stuff, could I kill him? He was like an inch further than it would have taken for me to want to kill him. If I could have TK'd a transfer to walk in range to knock him down, I would have then sent up Rayless Interceptors and shot him off the table, which would have been great for me. Not so great for him. Yeah. And this is during Rask's feat, right? So he didn't do that. He was like 8.5, 9 inches away from my closest transfer. So I'm like, all right, we're not doing that. I'll just go kill this Death Archon that's sitting in rubble that ran 8 inches on his first turn. So I TK my 2 Rocket Person Aces closer to the Death Archon. They're now within 11 inches of the Death Archon. So the first one walks up to within 4 inches, shoots its Sky Bomb at him, which ignores cover because that's what Sky Bombs do. With Dogfighter, I'm a Rat 7. I need a 7 to hit on 3 dice. I hit. And it's POW 12 on 4 dice damage because Sky Bomb and Brutal Damage, Dogfighter and Brutal Damage. Yeah. So we're dice. He didn't use Mortal Fear because why would you? Turn 1 under Rask feat. So I'm dice off 5 on 4 dice. You get like 9 or so on average, right? Except my dice blow up and I leave them on like 2 health. Like, okay, let's take this carbine shot. I don't ignore cover for the carbine. I still get 3 dice. I need 11 to hit. That's a coin flip. I hit the 11 and I'm dice off 7. I need to roll a boosted 9 to kill it, and I kill it. So I'm like, that's cool. Probably shouldn't have happened. It's probably like
I'll take that trade. Yeah,
you'll take it.
Yeah, it's probably like a 2% chance for him to kill him in rubble like that. Maybe not 2%. It's probably like 5% or something. But yeah, Swift Hunter 2 inches away, Repo 5, and then the other ace that I had ready to go follow up and finish a job, she just runs away, and I save her for later for the next one. And I TK'd 1 transfer forward to walk.
Great.
Yeah. So I TK another transfer walk forward through a forest and kill Throlg on the other side of the forest under his feet by slamming it into Malvin or something stupid. And pass turn. Yeah. And then he does. Yeah. He does his turn. He like sends in Malvin to kill my objective and doesn't have much else he can do because I've just got like a line of things towing the circle. And I've got a Liberate over there in the zone with a Mentalist using Psychokinetic Shield. So if he wants to send in a Swampar or a Wrestler to try to kill the Liberator, he's going to have to deal with a -4 Mat, which isn't great until he kills a Mentalist.
That really is the kind of big Achilles heel of Rask. Doesn't like defense buffs.
Yeah, and if Rask wants to walk up to within 10 inches of my Liberator and shoot it with a stationary gun, he can do that, but he's going to die afterwards, right? That's sort of the key.
Yeah.
So he sends Malvin into my zone, kills my objective, and doesn't really do a ton else that turn. And then in response, I kill Malvin, I kill his Wrestler that's on Rask, and I kill Barney Zero. And I kill his other Death Archon. I have a Stinger behind a house that just walks into the back of the Death Archon, pokes him at effective Mat 9 with a Shadowbind poke, and then sidesteps, pokes him again for a 2nd point of damage, sidesteps and repos into some rubble in his rectangle zone just to contest and be annoying. And then my other ace steps from behind the house and just shoots the Death Archon off the table and then repos onto the flag. Yeah, and then I kill those other things that I said.
Yeah.
Okay, so your aces are taking names right now.
They're too busy killing to take names. They'll go back later. They'll send somebody back to take the names later. They were on fire that game. To be fair, the second one didn't have to roll that well because the Death Archon was down 2 boxes. It was within reason. But yeah, they were amazing that game, and they often are. So yeah, at that point, he played his turn, and he was like, "I really got nothing," and
there's no
basically conceded after that. He couldn't even clear his zone because I had that Stinger sitting in the rubble at depth 20. He's got a wild Swamp Horror sitting over there that would otherwise be able to get to it, but Barney's dead, and so he just had nothing that he could do. He couldn't score any points that turn. He didn't even score his flag. Oh, he scored his flag that turn. That was it. I think. No, he didn't. Sorry, I ran my ace onto his flag that turn, and he walked up Scythe with a reroll to try to kill the ace, and she couldn't do it. She needs 9s, and she just never hit any of the 9s, even with a reroll.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, yeah. So it was a rough turn,
a bit rough for them,
and he basically conceded after that. Yeah. I mean, he didn't concede, but he was like, "Yeah, I got nothing. I passed turn," and then I went and scored 5 points on my next turn. I scored literally every single element and killed his objective. Oh, I didn't score. Did I? Yeah, I scored everything. So 2, 3. I scored everything, I believe. So
it was very, very over either
6
way.
points. Yeah, so 6 points. I scored 6 points in that turn.
That's
yeah, I had 4 points. I scored 6 and went up to 10, and it was like super game over.
Yeah, that's a ruthless finish. Nicely done.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that was a good way to start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Solid start.
Yes. Game 2, I got paired into Chris Gunther. He's an East Coast guy, really nice guy, playing Circle. And he had a Kruger 2 Chromac 1 pair. And it's interesting because I've had this situation a number of times now where a Circle player has Chromac 1 in their pair. And you think that they're going to play Chromac 1 because on paper he's the anti-magic caster, but they don't.
Yeah.
So he played Kruger 2, and I played Lucas. And that's a matchup I've played before. I think it's significantly better for Lucas now after the update than before because of the changes to Windstorm and the changes to the way that the lists are being built a little bit. Like Kruger players are taking Warp Wolves instead of Malvin, and Warp Wolves exist in a space that's easier for Crucible Guard to deal with reliably than Malvin is because they have more defense and less armor, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So I was a little more familiar with that specific matchup than he was and ended up taking some pieces really early. I won the roll to go first again. He ran his stuff up, and instead of leading with Kruger at the very tip of the spear, he had Kruger like less than an inch behind a Warp Wolf, basically. A Stalker.
Yeah.
So I killed the Stalker top of 2 and didn't really give him much besides transfers and a Stinger. And the game just sort of went downhill for him from that point.
A bit of a grind that he can't recover from at that point.
Do you know if Chris recorded it? Because I think he recorded a bunch of his games to put on. Is it Warjacks? Warjacks, I think their club is. It might be on
Warjacks Games. Yeah, Warjacks Games was there recording a bunch of games. It was.
I know he recorded the one with Baby Michael, the Kruger off they had. I don't know if
yes.
If he recorded one with you as well.
Chris wasn't recording the games. Warjacks, it was Sean and I'm terrible. I think Craig is the name of their other host who was there recording games. They did record a game between Chris and Michael, but they did not record this game.
I wasn't sure if it was Chris was one of them. That was it. No. I haven't got to see. I've seen it pop up on my feed, but I've not got around to watching it yet. So
I have on my list of things to watch. Yeah, the game between Chris and Michael is one that I want to watch. It's on my list to watch. So I played Chris, and like I said, I was a little more familiar with the matchup, so I took pieces early that he couldn't recover from, and then at some point he made a desperation play with Kruger to try to achieve some scenario parity, and like walked him up and shot my objective to make sure that it died, and then I killed Kruger the next turn. So 2 games down. 2 games down, 1 to go.
Return, like you said, right?
And it's
yes,
a Kruger.
Exactly.
It's a Kruger down, which is always a good start.
Who's
agreed? Every Kruger you put down.
Who's the left you have to worry
Um,
about in this round?
Everybody. There were so many good players at LVO that everybody is a threat, right? There's nobody where I get paired. I'm like, all right, this is an easy round. They just don't exist there.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
So,
Okay,
which
so
is great.
It's a complete Shark Tank. That's actually very cool.
Yeah, and I love it. I love playing against good players. It makes the games more interesting. It makes them more memorable. I learn more from them. I feel better if I happen to win the game. It's just better all around.
Yeah, I agree 100%. That's absolutely true.
So round 3 of the qualifier, I get paired with a guy from the Pacific Northwest, Sean. And Sean's a great guy. Played with him before, known him for a while. He's playing Trollbloods at this event, and he has Kolgrima and Storm of the North paired with something else. I don't remember, some troll caster or minions caster.
That's interesting.
He's playing Kolgrima.
That's very interesting because I haven't seen Kolgrima for a while. She's kind of dropped off a lot of people's radar. It's nice to see her
In the UK,
sticking
definitely.
around.
Yeah.
Online
And
as well. I look at VTC, etc. Like, I'm not seeing a lot of Kolgrima.
I think Minions and Trollbloods players have so many options right now that it's understandable they wouldn't play Kolgrima. It's like being a Signar player and you have options like, no, I'm not going to play Haley 2. I've played her so much. Let me play something else because I can now.
Yeah, kind of
overwhelmed.
Or if you... Yeah.
I've only been
and
forced
she's been
to
a
play
staple
Haley
for so long.
what? Yeah, I've only been forced to play Haley 2 for about 8 years. It would be nice to have a change.
Only for literally as long as I've been playing the game. So.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
So you're up against Kolgrima then.
Right, and I play Gearheart because I know Ass Mountain is good into almost anything that Trolls is going to present, and most things that Minions are going to present. If it was Kolgrima paired with Rask, I'd have to think about what I was going to do. But that wasn't the case, so I played Gearheart. And
how'd you do into like the Madrak 3 like lists of just all of the dudes swarming across the table?
So Gearheart has the Vulcan, which has Miasma, which turns off healing, in 2 AoE 4s, as well as the 5 of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he also has 2 DBR rockets in my list, which turn off tough with AoE 4s and reduce armor. And then I have a shitload of good guns and an incredible amount of good melee. So it feels pretty good into Madrak.
You're actually okay, yeah.
I'm pretty sure that they're not going to drop it in that case, yeah.
Yeah, like if I drop some no healing in my Thamrite Archon in the Gearheart list, shoot some things with Death Drivers, and they walk and kill some things. That's just like so many dead models before I start actually punching anything. It's kind of insane.
Seems rough for them to even think about it. Well, because it's a terror over here, the Madrak 3 list. Of I think probably more so than
it seems good. Madrak 3 is great.
It's just fine for you.
Yeah,
I mean, the Gearheart list has literally every tool you'd ever want to fight into them.
Yeah.
So
there is no good reason for you to care about that list.
Cool. So how's it kick off? What scenario are you up on this one with?
This round was Recon 2, and I won the role to go first. There is one way that I lose this matchup, and that's if I get Gearheart killed. That's how I lose it. I don't really lose that matchup any other way.
Yeah.
I have an infinitesimal chance of Gearheart dying just to sprays from Kolgrima. It's very, very small. And I can't really prevent him from getting sprays on Gearheart. What I can do is cast D-Cell and camp 2 every turn. And then it's just this like very tiny chance of him dying to just sprays from her. And I'm happy with that. He has 2 Dire Troll Bombers in his list, so what I need to not do is let him get a crit stationary in Gearheart with Kolgrima's sprays and then shoot Gearheart with bomber gunshots because it's a POW 16. And if they hit, then I die.
Yeah.
So every turn, my plan to not lose this game is cast D-Cell, camp 2, use Operations Command, and body block Gearheart with failed experiments, if I'm in range of anything. Because he's not killing failed experiments with Kolgrima sprays. And if he doesn't kill them, bombers don't draw a line of sight.
Yeah.
So, and just let my army do the rest of the work.
Yeah.
Turn 3 or 4, I get to the end of my turn, realize that I activated all my failed experiments, activated all my assault troopers, and I have nothing left to body block for Gearheart. I've got this one mechanic left to activate. I'm like, well, I done messed up. Let's run this mechanic in front of Gearheart and just hope, right? I see the line. He's going to see the line. We both know how this game ends. So let's see if I get lucky. And so, like, huge error. I do that. He screwed up the Fury on one of his bombers, so it frenzied. So he doesn't have that one available. And we talked about it afterwards. He thought it was out of range anyway to walk and shoot, which it may have been. So that might not have mattered. But it's lucky for me to start the turn that way. I'm like, so there's a chance now. Because even without crit stationary, 2 bombers shooting at me, they need 12s to hit. If he hits twice, even just once, I might die.
That's 4 boosted shots. Like, there's a pretty good chance he should hit once. There's a pretty good chance he hits twice.
Yeah, and so if he doesn't hit on the first one, he doesn't get to boost damage, which is nice. But if he does, that's even worse.
That's not good for you. Yeah.
So one of the bombers off the table, because even if he was in range, he frenzied. I'm like, all right, the odds are improving.
That's looking a lot safer.
Not feeling safe, just not feeling like I'm
not feeling like
certainly definitely dead.
Yeah.
So if I had a hope meter, it started off like at the start of the game around like 80-90% full. As the game progressed, it stayed around there. At the end of my turn, it dropped down to 10% full. I'm like, I'm probably dead. His bomber frenzied. I'm up to like 20-30%. I'm like, there's a chance now. He figures everything out. He moves his stone up and does the cold aura, so she's +2 POW. Colgrima has to flicker, so she's only going to get 2 boosts in order to get in range because there were no charge targets that were going to work out. So Colgrima gets Harmonious, walks up, flickers, and does her first spray, boost attack. Needs a 7 to hit. Needs an 8 to hit. Really wants that crit on 4 dice, drop lowest. Does not crit. Importantly, doesn't even hit. She misses.
Wow. Okay.
She misses entirely.
Which is
highly unlikely.
Spiking.
That's
right.
Oh my!
Hope meter goes from like 20-30% up to like 60%. Right?
Yeah.
I'm like, I might live, but if he crits either of these next 2, I'm probably still dead.
Yeah.
So takes the next spray, hits, does not crit. Hope meter is up to like 70% now. I'm like, if he crits this next one. And he doesn't do very good for damage either. He rolls like some damage.
Okay.
He rolls his last spray. It's unboosted. Does not crit. Hope meter goes back up to like 80%. And then rolls damage and deals like 1 damage or something stupid. So my hope meter's back up to 90% now.
You're like, this is fine.
And well, what I've got...
Is this very much an all-in from Colgrim? Is she just like in front of... basically your entire army?
Yeah.
I mean,
absolutely.
she's spraying Gearheart. There is no way she's not dead next turn.
Like, she's standing right in front of my army. There's a Vulcan who could practically walk and punch her, if not literally. My next turn. I still have my feet. Like, I've got everything. Thamorite Archon. She used her feet the last turn. Like, she's got nothing if she fails to kill him.
Yeah.
So he still has his bomber. Gearheart's still got like 1 or 2 camp and has only taken a few damage. The bomber needs 12s to hit and Def 17 with the Mentalist, and has to snipe himself. So he walks up, boosts his first shot, misses. I'm base to base with the Mentalist, so he can't even get blast damage. And then he misses the second shot, so Gearheart lives. I made a huge error and didn't get punished for it. Super lucky. And Sean identified the correct line, went for it, did it correctly, and just had bad dice and wasn't able to capitalize on my error. So with that, I got lucky that game. I qualified for the finals.
Lucky beats good every time. That's great.
It does. Lucky saves you from dumb mistakes. Fortunately, because I felt bad that like I screwed up and Sean just got hammered by bad dice even worse, that Sean also qualified as an X and 1
Oh, that's cool.
to qualify for the finals on Sunday. So I felt good about that. So with that, I was done. I didn't have to play in the second heat, or the third and final heat, the second one that day, which is nice.
And then was it the team tournament on the Friday, you said, wasn't it?
Yeah, which is just one round. I played Gearheart into a rep player. He had Gareth 1 in Shadows paired with something else. I don't remember what the something else was right now, but he played Gareth in Shadows. I played Gearheart, and it was a fun game. I killed a bunch of stuff, and he killed a few things, and then I killed a bunch of stuff, and then he killed a few things, and then I killed most of the remaining stuff, and he looked for a line to assassinate. Gearheart couldn't find one, so sent in Gareth to kill my Thamrite Archon and feeded. So Gareth is sitting up there in melee with 2 assault troopers. And just to like adequately set the stage, I still had everything in my army minus like maybe 6 or 7 of my field experiments, and like an assault trooper or 2 were dead. And I had almost everything else left.
So you had a lot of punches.
He had Gareth, 2 Spears of Syra, and like Silas at that point.
Oh wow. Okay, so it's just
maybe something else. I don't know.
Like a proper all or nothing.
So yeah. I mean, so with blast damage, like Mage Runner Strike Force die pretty reliably. If you
very
put
easily
blast damage boosted from Hot Shot into them, they get zoned by Eruption of Ash really well, which I can generate with Assault Troopers and the Thamrite Archon, so they can't just walk through it. And they're not good at killing Assault Troopers or failed experiments with their guns. Like turn 2 and 3, they shot at failed experiments, and I think get 2 full units.
There's very little for them to do, and everything kills them. It's not a good day for them.
Yeah, like they'll kill failed experiments, but it takes all their CRAs to kill like 1 or 2 a turn.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe 3. And that's what they did. But yeah, the attrition game was not in his favor, and it didn't play out that way. So we get to this point where Gareth is like, I have one last chance to try to make something happen. So he couldn't quite get a line on my caster. So the next best thing is get in my face, feet, and hope that you're alive to kill me next turn, right? And that's what he did. So he got in my face, he feeded. He's in melee with 2 assault troopers. Those are the only 2 assault troopers I have that can walk and punch him. And then I've got my Vulcan that is in range to shoot him, Gearheart that's in range to shoot him, and a DBR that's in range to shoot him. So I have to figure out my assassination. I can't spend any focus or cast spells in his control. I give Eyeless Sight to the DBR from Alice, because that's out of his control range for casting spells. I run a failed experiment around this rough terrain, like up and around this rough terrain, and then nestle into this little spot where if I slam him forward, he's base with Gareth, and I'll be able to knock Gareth down. So I don't want to have to. I could just walk the assault troopers out of melee and then shoot Gareth directly, and he's def 17. But I want those assault troopers melee attacks if I can. I don't want to activate them first. So I get the failed experiment there. Gearheart walks up to within 8 inches because I can't upkeep snipe. I give myself bloody well done, so I get another die to hit. I'm in the failed experiment's back arc, so I need an 8 on 3 dice to hit it. I hit it with my momentum gun, get slammed over Gareth. Gareth is now knocked down. I feed it on him, and these 2 assault troopers just go to work dismantling him with their POW 14 Weapon Master, 2 strikes each, auto hitting hammers. Yeah. So they turn him into an Eruption of Ash, and that was the end of that game.
Just
as the elf deserves.
Did he not?
Yeah, he won't have to worry about.
He used to have heightened reflexes, right? He doesn't have it anymore. It used to be.
Ground. Yeah, he probably did have that.
Yeah. I think it was about the changes. That's rough. Cool. So
he's a solid caster now, but it's real nice when you can boost without having to spend focus to boost against somebody like that.
Yeah. For sure.
Cool. Yeah.
So a couple of successful days. What did you do with the rest of Saturday? Did you just like pick up casual games with your buddies and go out for food, or take it? So easy?
After I was done, a little of all of that except for the casual games. After I finished my last round on Saturday, I still had friends playing in the second heat of the day, the final heat, which only ended up going 2 rounds because there weren't as many people signed up for it, thanks COVID. But that's fine. It means everybody gets to be done early. So there were going to be 2 rounds. I watched some friends play to see who qualified from that round. And then after that, we went out to dinner and hung out, took it easy, had a good time, and then went to bed early, as I do when I go to tournaments.
I think,
if I can.
if you want it right, if you want to have your best shot at actually winning it, you don't want to be like partying at like 3 a.m. and fall out of bed underneath the table.
I mean, that
Yeah.
was never my experience with mates in SA. Like, everyone who won a tournament was typically up to 3 a.m. the night before. And like,
there are people who can do that.
well, usually we'd end up, one person has got, whoever's doing it has like one list that is hangover proof. So like in Mark II, this was, you played Scar 1 with all the infantry. That was hangover proof. Like if you're playing Maylock, Maylock in Minions, run forward and feet and just watch them clock. You don't need to be awake to watch them do that.
To be fair, Ass Mountain is that kind of list. So I could do that, but the important key is that I don't enjoy myself if I feel like shit the next day and I have to play
that
in a tournament.
Is a much better reason. That I'm fully behind. You're going through all this effort and money to be there. No, you must enjoy it. You're going through all that effort to be there. Absolutely.
Yeah.
For sure.
So took it easy and went to bed early on Saturday.
Very cool. So then Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday.
So Sunday rolls around.
Just the Masters on the Sunday.
Yeah, so the Line of Sight guys were running some other tournaments the whole time, so they had other stuff going on.
And I think there was meant to be like a Warcaster.
They did a Hughes the Boss at some point. So there were other Warmachine things going on, but the main tournaments for like 75-point Warmachine on Sunday, it was just the finals.
Yeah.
Plus casual games. I'm sure people played casual games. So there were 16 of us.
Yep.
16 of us. When round 1 pairings go up, I was very sad to see that my round 1 pairing was against Eric Eicherman, who is one of my best friends, lives here in San Diego. We play all the time. We're part of the same team, right? So no matter what, it was going to be a round 1 team kill. One of us was going to knock the other one out, and neither of us was happy about that.
That's awful when that happens.
It is. But he's a great player. He's incredibly fun to play with. So on the one hand, I'm excited I get to start the day playing a game with Ike. On the other hand, we're both really sad that we have to start the day knocking the other one out.
Yeah.
So that was our pairing. He's playing Mercenaries. And this is cool because I'm playing Ash Mountain is one of my lists. He's playing Ashland 2 with 2 units of Ash Troopers, which is known as Ash to Ass, which is also a great list.
Yeah.
I see you putting your head in your hand, and I can only imagine it's because of how excited you are to
Clearly,
learn that list exists and is really good. It's Ashland 2 with 2 Ash Troopers. It's Ash to Ass.
Yeah.
That's what it is, right? So, and it's a really good list. Very good list. He's also got 2 Thermite Archons in there. It's a really strong list. So we ended up playing Ass Mountain against Ash to Ass. And it was a long, grindy game. And in the end, I outground him, and he went for an assassination that failed after going for a scenario play that failed. And the thing about Ash to Ass is at any point, your caster could just die. Because he has 2 Thermite Archons, he has hero for the people, to the people, whatever it's called. Where if Ashland, Ashland kills a model, her whole army gets +2 to attack rolls. So Rat 9 Thermite Archons, one of them with Hand of Fate, one of them with a reroll from Eilish, and then one or both of them speed 9 because of True Path. So it's like you're never safe really if you're relying on defense. And you're never safe, really, if you're relying on armor. You need some just ridiculous numbers to feel really safe. So in that game, like one of the key decisions I made is I parked Gearheart completely within some rubble on turn 2. Literally never left it the entire game. As long as Thermite Archons live, that's Gearheart's home. He lives there. Or he might just die. Yeah, so like Thermite Archons, without Hero to the People, they're at 7. They need boxcars to hit him in rubble. And the whole time I'm like, well, they'll probably hit some of the boxcars with Hand of Fate and rerolls, right? Like
rerolls,
yeah, you get Hand of Fate and you get to reroll the Hand of Fated reroll, and then with Eilish you get another reroll. It's not that hard to hit a string of 12. At least that's the thought process if you're playing Gearheart. with Hero to the People, they need 9 or 10s to hit. Hand-faded, rerollable 10s.
Yeah, that's suddenly quite dangerous. Oof.
Yeah, so you assume they're just going to hit most, if not all of them,
You
right?
assume you're dead if you let yourself be dead.
Yeah. So it's just like playing against Colgrima without the body blocking. I'm parked in this rubble. I live here. I'm not allowed to go anywhere else. I'm basically a structure. I can't move, is the way that it works. And you cast D-Cell and you camp too. That's what you do all game. And you keep a Mentalist nearby as long as you can. If there's a Mentalist and you can't kill the Mentalist, you're def 21. So then they might miss, right? Like, you need Boxcar still, they might miss. But he also has a trick shot dude.
No.
Yeah, trick shot dude in the unit to kill Mentalists really well. So he killed one of my Mentalists early on in the game. Point is, that's Gearhart's MO all game. Sit in rubble,
Right.
D-Cell camp 2. He gets to the point where he gets to take his run. It's like, all right, one Thermite Archon has a reroll from Eilish and Hand of Fate. The other one does not, but they both have Hero to the People, and they are both speed 9. They're both going to get there. And he walks up, takes his shots, and doesn't kill Gearhart. It's actually fairly low odds under the very specific scenario that I've described. But if Gearhart doesn't cast D-Cell or is camping 0 and or is not in the rubble, it's high odds because that's a lot of rerolls in Hand of Fate. But so he doesn't pull it off. So I win that game. I feel bad and I'm heartbroken that Ike has now lost his first round and it's my fault. But I'm also excited that Ass Mountain beat Ash to Ass.
That's good.
I get to
Baby
move
Michael, by the way, Brandon
You beat
asks
Ash.
Baby Michael asks, why does your confetti cannon arm? Why is it so efficient at rolling dice?
It's not that it's so efficient; it's that the regulator is broken. So it has one mode, and that's confetti cannon.
Are you the reason why Baby Michael is scarred from LVO? Did
No,
confetti cannon?
No,
just,
I'm not.
No, that was Brad's fault.
All right.
That was
Yeah.
Brad's fault.
Of all the people who Baby Michael lost games to at LVO, I am not one of them. We didn't get to play at LVO. But my dice throwing is a meme in some circles. I throw with gusto, with wild abandon. I like to see the dice roll. And
have you
some
got
people
one of
find
the trays that's got to have high sides to make sure they don't rocket across the room. Or
no. What I do, I have a pre-game speech. I always tell people, we all describe how we play the game, how we roll our dice, etc. I have a dice tray. It's
right.
free, actually. I like it. It's a fun dice tray. One of my friends, Adam Stewart, made it for me and a bunch of our other teammates. This is my dice tray.
Oh, cool.
The corners nip up.
Yeah.
Team Trash Dolphin. So I put that on the
shirts are
table.
sweet.
Yeah, I point it out and I tell my opponent, all right, this dice tray is a target. It's just a target. I aim for it. As long as the dice are on the table somewhere, in the tray or not, it's fine.
Yes,
and they're like, why do you... Yeah, they're like, why do you have a tray? I'm like, because if I don't aim for something small, I'll miss the table. That's why. So, other than that, yeah.
So do you have to play snooker games where's your dice tray that when it bounces out, you're not knocking models all over the show?
I do try to control the angles. I'll position the tray so that the overspray area is ideally not going to go off the table and or hit other models when I can help it.
Awesome.
I can't tell you why I roll dice like this. I have theories. My main theory is that I hate dice games in general, right? It's a wonder I play Warmachine. I hate dice so much. It's just an aspect of the game that I tolerate because I like the game otherwise.
That's fair.
So if I don't roll the dice well, if I don't actually give them a good roll and a shake and a roll, and they end up not being numbers that I like, even though it's still random, it's going to bother me psychologically.
You've got to work for those dice to get good rolls, is what you're going at, right? You've got to make them
good
roll.
or bad. Good or bad, as long as I worked for them when I rolled it, I feel okay with the results. I know that it's not that I didn't roll well enough. It's just that's how the dice randomly landed. If I don't roll them aggressively, I guess. Yeah, if I don't actually roll the dice and they come up snake eyes and like, I didn't roll well enough. I need to roll them harder. Right? It's just a psychological thing. So I just end up rolling with a lot of enthusiasm. And that's just a part of the way I play the game now. And it is a meme in some circles, and I understand it. So
That's great.
Cool.
Yeah.
So you're on kind of a high, but a little bit bummed out that your buddy's being knocked out by you. But I guess that means you guaranteed someone to watch your games, right? Through the rest of the day.
He decided to stay in, to not drop and keep playing, which I support and encourage.
Yeah.
And we actually had a fantastic game too, to be clear. Like he says it was his best game of the weekend. It was certainly one of my best games of the weekend. And neither of us had any regrets from the game. We had a lot of fun. It was a high caliber game. And I told him afterwards, I think it was one of the best games I've ever seen him play. He just played really well, which is excellent.
I'm going to step back out and be with Evan to go for the next game, but I should be back in a second. Sorry, guys.
Sure. And I'm sure you all have friends who play the game, and you all share in each other's success and achievements, right? And it's one thing for you. Yeah, it's one thing to win a game yourself or to feel like you played a good game yourself. And it's a whole nother level of joy to see a friend of yours perform really well, even if it's against you. Like, it just makes you feel good. So I really enjoyed that, especially because I've spent a lot of time working with him on his lists, and like we've spent time figuring stuff out and working together and trying to improve as players. And to see that come to fruition at a big tournament in finals, I just had like a proud papa moment, and it was great. And then I was like, by the way, I'm going to kill your caster, but I'm a proud papa. So that was cool. And he decided to stay in and not drop, which I was excited about. You make it that far, play your games.
Yeah, play your games. I'm of two minds of that. Like, if there's another event to play, then I can then I can get behind that. But if I go to an event, it's to play games. Like, it doesn't matter if I can't hit a podium. I'm there to play games. Like, I've paid the money. I've taken time off work potentially. It's something you enjoy. So play the damn games and have fun.
I agree completely. As long as it's fun, keep playing. If you're not going to enjoy yourself, don't. Regardless of whether you won or lost the game.
I'm going to be a little more critical. I got to ask why you're playing if you're not going to enjoy playing the games. I do have to ask a bit of a pointed question there.
Where someone's playing to like clock you, and it's just frustrating, or they're just or there's just things that go wrong that shouldn't. Where you're like every dice roll for you is bad, every dice roll for them is good.
I mean, that happens before right? That happens during a game, but if you're dropping before, you've got no idea that's going to be the case.
I know, but I mean, if you found what you thought was you've played a perfect game, and then just a calamity of errors mean that you had an awful game rather than the good game you thought you were going to have. And sometimes people just want to step aside for a bit, and you
just want to.
You gotta go. They maybe. Yeah. I don't think I've ever dropped from a tourney, but I get it that some people will be like, they need to step away and have 5 minutes, or just go. I'm done for the day. It's not. Worse.
I've done it once, but I took that as a hint I needed to stop playing Warhammer Fantasy, that I was done with the system. Like, if I'm prepared to stop because I'm not enjoying the games, learn something from that.
Yeah. Fair.
I think a more common scenario that we kind of talked about earlier is when people stay up until 3 or 4 o'clock the night before and get a little crazy with the bottle.
Fair.
And then next day, they're like, all right, I have to play. They lose a game. They're like, all right, I'm done. I'm going to go get some Pedialyte, hook it up to an IV, and take a nap. Like, that's a situation where you might not be enjoying your games.
Yeah, that's fair.
I avoid that because, again, I don't want to be in that situation, but a lot of people don't. So
yeah. So who did round 2 look like?
Round 2, I get paired against a guy named Matt from the Midwest. Great dude, plays Signar. I played with him recently at an East Coast event late last year, and we chat a lot about the game. So we get paired. He has Striker 2 in Storm Division, and he has Striker 1 in Flames in the Darkness. And I'm pretty confident he's playing Striker 2 based on previous game he played of Ass Mountain against Striker 1 Flames. and it's not a good matchup for Striker 1 and Striker 2 in Storm Division. I think we talked about it at some point. He mentioned that's his Crucible Guard drop. So pretty confident he's playing that. I play Gearheart because it's still, I think, the better drop overall into his pair. And I win the roll to go first. We're playing on, is it Invasion that has a center rectangle and 2 circles? Or is that the other one?
Whatever the name is, I think you've just described the scenario well enough that it doesn't matter.
Yes.
So let's just call it Invasion.
So point conveyed, that's the scenario. Center rectangle, 2 circles.
2 circles.
And
yeah.
I win the roll to go first. I standard going first, except sometimes if my opponent doesn't have any credible guns for bottom of 1, instead of casting D-Cell turn 1, I'll cast Boundless Charge on myself and charge forward just to get 10 inches up the table. So I do that because I want board space because he can't shoot me that first turn. And there's also some rough terrain right in front of me that I want to get through. So I Boundless, I charge up. His first turn, he casts D-Cell with Striker, puts Striker into a trench completely, has Dreyfus in front of him completely in the trench, and has 2 Battle Priests within 3 inches of Striker behind. So pretty solidly bunkered defensive caster. Striker's sitting there at def 20 against guns, arm 18 with three focus and 2 shield guards. So pretty tanky.
Thanks. You just described someone in front of him and you have a momentum gun.
Yeah, but Dreyfus is also in the trench. He's def 17.
Oh, is he also in the trench? Okay, so not so terrible then.
Yeah. But you hit on the key point. I do still have a momentum gun. Remember that game against
this is what I was thinking.
1? Yeah. Where I ran a failed experiment from 16 inches away to go basically with this caster. Start of turn 2, top of 2, I'm looking at the table and I'm telling him, all right, I think I might be able to kill your caster. Let's figure this out. I put a proxy base to see if I can fit it base to base to the Striker without getting bumped into other things first. I can. So I can get a proxy base to base with Striker and Dreyfus. And I measure and it's easily within 16 inches of a running failed experiment because that's really fast. And turn 1, they ran almost 16 inches at the table.
Okay, yeah.
So I can do that.
That's
cool.
Solid.
There's a forest in between me and Striker, so I have to check the angle of walking Gearheart to get line of sight to the failed experiment and to Striker and to be within 12 inches of both. I check, I can do that. Cool. Next thing I check, can I walk the Vulcan to within spray 10 of Striker in line of sight? Easily. He's like 14, 15 inches away from the Vulcan. Cool. 2 more things I check. Can the DBR walk up and shoot Dreyfus without being an obstruction to the rest of my models after repost? Yes. And can the Thamrite Archon walk up and shoot Striker? Yes. We've got a very high odds assassination now.
Yeah, this is a good assassination at this point.
So I upkeep Hotshot. I allocate 2 to the Vulcan. I run my failed experiment into place. I give Gearheart. Did I give him anything? I don't remember if I used Alice for anything. It doesn't matter. Gearheart walks over, feats on Striker. I swap my gun to the detonator. I didn't get a second shot because the Mentalist was standing in the way and Clog was in rough terrain, so I couldn't quite walk to within 5. But I swap my gun to the detonator. I walk up. I shoot the failed experiment in the back with Bloody Well Done. I think I also boosted attack. So I need a 4 dice 8 to knock him, to momentum him forward, which I hit. Gets slammed over Striker. Striker is knocked down. Striker takes a POW 15. I don't get the feat for it because it's collateral, but dice off 1, unboosted. I would otherwise take a second shot at Striker, but I can't do that now. That's fine. Then my DBR walks up, shoots Dreyfus because the Battle Priests are not within 3 of Dreyfus, so he can't shield guard the Withering Humor. So I land Withering Humor on Striker. He goes down to arm 16 with D-Cell, and I'm up to POW 9 because of feats. I'm off 7. I don't recall if I did any damage, probably not. Fun step next. Thamrite Archon walks up, has 3 shots. He has 2 shield guards. I shoot Striker with a Death Driver. Gets shield guarded. Battle Priest does not pass his cuff. Walks into the butt of the other Battle Priest and swings at him. Kills. He doesn't kill him, but he toughs, so now he can't shield guard. So 2 shield guards taken out with 1 shot. And then I pop 2 more into Striker at POW 14. Don't get the feat for that because it's not faction, but dice off 2. So get some damage. And then the Vulcan walks up, no shield guards, gets 4 sprays that need not once to hit. 2 of them are boosted attack. all of them are boosted damage at straight dice because POW 16 from feet against Arm 16.
That's
so
flat. Striker.
Like,
yeah, he died I think on the second, maybe the third shot. So that game was over pretty quickly. Matt's a great sport though, and not salty at all. He's like, yeah, forgot about the momentum gun. Won't do that again. And I believe him. I don't think he will. So,
it's a hard lesson.
Yeah. So that's 2 down, 2 more to go.
Very cool.
And I got a nice long break because my first game it took like an hour and 55 minutes to resolve, or an hour and almost 2 hours to play.
Right.
And we went straight into the next round.
Yeah, that's quite draining. So at least now, what was this? A top of 2 assassination?
Top of 2. So we had spent
so
maybe like 10 minutes combined, 15 minutes combined on the clock.
In a minute. Have a visit.
Sure.
He's been good. Go on, you. Let's go to bed.
So it was nice that round was over kind of quickly. So I had some time to chill out. Some of my friends were leaving, so I walked out with them and hung out for a bit before saying goodbye before they flew back to Colorado. Got some fresh air. As fresh as the air gets in Vegas when everyone around you is smoking cigarettes. That is.
Are they smoking? Are they smoking indoors in Vegas still?
They are not in the convention area, but the rest of the casino, where any of the gambling machines or anything else.
Oh shit! Okay, yeah, got it.
Yeah. So the convention area is free of that, but as soon as you walk outside, people are huddling around the doors smoking cigarettes too. So.
Yeah, I don't miss people smoking indoors. I gotta say.
No, neither do I, at all. It's one of the things I hate the most about Vegas is all the cigarette smoke.
Yeah.
My lungs don't enjoy it, so.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, so that round ended soon and ended early. I had some time to relax and just hang out and socialize and unwind a little bit after that really long but fun first game against Ike.
That's nice. And you get some time to just wander around, watch a little bit snippets of a couple games.
Yeah.
Maybe even
Watch Machine is always enjoyable.
It is. It's like there's none of the pressure on it as well. It's like just
sometimes there is. I watch friends play and I'm like, do they see it? Do they see this move? They have to do it. If they don't do it, I'm going to be so upset. And then they don't do it. I'm like, why?
Oh God, yes.
So sometimes there's that little bit of pressure when you watch your friend play and you really want them to do well, and they're missing the line, or they like do something stupid. Now they're gonna get killed. Like that's how somebody would have felt if they were watching me play against Colgrim. They're like, "You fool! You're gonna die! What are you doing?"
Or your mate's forgotten a rule on his own model. It's like, no. You're not. Why? You can't tough. No, that's Fenris. He can't tough Fenris. Fenris can eat your army. Just do it. Let Fenris eat.
Or more mistakes I've made, like watching somebody apply Eruption of Ash damage to their own models when it gets put into play. That's not how it works.
No.
When I started playing again in April after taking a year off of the game, I was playing Assault Troopers and was making Eruption of Ash damage rolls against my own models, against like failed experiments. It wasn't really hurting them because it's dice off 3-on-1 dice. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Sometimes they took damage. After the game, one of my friends was like, "So come here, you're an idiot. It doesn't work that way. You don't have to roll against your models." Like, thanks. Yeah, I knew this. I forgot this, and was just doing it wrong in the heat of the moment playing a game. So
I appreciate the reminder. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for not telling me during the game. That is correct. Thank you for telling me after the game. I appreciate it. Anyway, so that it sounds like Daniel's back.
I am. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
We have a return, Dan.
Yeah. The pain of a 3-year-old that's had a half an hour nap and is now like ready to go for another 24 hours apparently. Which has been a good girl, so I can't complain too much.
Shame.
It's like, who are you talking to? I'm like, back to sleep. So yeah, sorry, carry on.
Internet friends.
Yeah.
So round 3 I get paired against Conan, who's playing my identical list pair. And so just to step back for a second. After round 2, there are 4 players left in the finals. It's me, Conan playing my identical list pair, Dave Bergstrom playing Retribution, and Roy Mabro playing Retribution. So there's a 25 or a 30% chance I could get paired against Crucible Guard and Mirror, or against a Retribution player. I guess it's 25% chance I get CG, 75% chance I get Ret, right? Something like that. You do numbers.
Right.
I don't play Warmachine to do math. Okay, I read the pips on the dice and I add them up.
Like 66
and then I ask my opponent, did I hit? Is he dead? Like that's yeah. So anyway, very good chance of playing against Ret if it was completely random, and smaller chance of getting the mirror. Conan and I both know what the mirror is like. Nobody wants to play the Ass Mountain mirror. It's not enjoyable. We'd both rather play into Ret. And of course, both the Ret players are like wishing us upon ourselves, which I understand. So
Really?
sadly,
I'm
we
not
get
feeling a whole lot of sympathy for Ret. Like, Kellis is a monster right now. Felseer is just utter bullshit. Like, I'm not feeling like a whole lot like these are the underdogs.
no, they're not. I'm not saying they are. Ret's in a fantastic place. But when you're looking at Ass Mountain, which yeah, and Ass Mountain is pretty good into most things that Ret has to offer. And it's also just the kind of list. Like I call it Ass Mountain because it's Assault Troopers in a Meat Mountain style of list, like Meat Mountain from Mark II. And if you remember that, you see that, you're like, yeah, you guys go play against each other. Nobody wants you at our table, on our playground. So
we, in our little grudge match, I had the fortune earlier of watching Cullis 1 play into Madrak 3. And just the two of them fucking deserve each other. Like that's exactly it. Seriously.
So when it's me and Conan with Ass Mountain in the top, the final four, everybody else is like, yeah, you guys deserve each other. You should get the mirror.
Yeah.
Same feeling, same sentiment. And that's what happened. So we got the mirror and we both walked to the table and it's like, all right, we both know we're playing Gearheart. Let's get this over with, I guess. And he's a great guy. But so it's not dreading playing the game with him. It's just neither of us wants to play.
Neither of you like the game that's about to happen.
Yeah. So we do it though. I go second because I lost the roll. And that game largely comes down to who is able to play the game faster, really. Because it's a long game. There's a lot of clock pressure. And then like some other subtle things in that matchup that are good tricks and tips you want to use. That I'm not going to get into too deep. I've talked about it in other places. And if people want to listen to me talk about the Ass Mountain mirror, just send me a message and I'll give you a list of advice. Item number 1 on the list will be don't play the Ass Mountain mirror if you can avoid it. my tip, if you're
have a gentleman's agreement that you both just play your off list and be done with.
No, literally. I mean, after the game, I said to Conan, if we have this again, let's just gentleman's agreement to have a Lucas off. And he was like 100%. That's what we'll do next time. Because that's just going to be a far more enjoyable game for both parties and it's going to end quicker and not like just drain all of your energy and lifeblood all over the table and into the clock and then make you want to take a nap afterwards. Which is what that mirror is otherwise like. So anyway, we played the game. It was long. It was a good game. And I ended up getting a significant clock advantage over him somewhere in the mid game, and was able to ride that out to a scenario / death clock victory in the end.
You've been on Crucible Guard for a good long while, right? And Conan's changed as his main faction.
Yeah, he just picked it up.
For weekend, yeah.
Yeah, he picked it up. I want to say like a month or two before LVO, maybe 2 months.
Yeah, because I know you went
somewhere around there
for a weekend on Kador and was saying like because he came on and talked to us and he was saying that it's now Crucible Guard after that event was the plan all along.
Yeah.
I think he's had to relearn how to play because he was just piloting Death Jiv at people and just running at their faces.
Turns out when you just run Doom Reavers, all you gotta do is run Doom Reavers.
Run Doom Reavers and run Armor 22 Kador Jacks. Like it's it's the hangover. It's 2 hangover lists. It's great.
Yeah. So instead, he picked up CG and is playing Ass Mountain, which I highly recommend. Which is just run failed experiments and assault troopers at your opponent. So to be fair, the list does have a lot of nuance. And
it's got a lot.
The skill floor.
For it, yeah.
The skill floor, like it's very potent with relatively little input, but to unlock the upper shelf or tier of effectiveness of the list. It does take a lot of skill and nuance,
Yeah.
like a lot of lists. But
yeah.
it is easy to apply it as a blunt instrument in a lot of matchups and be decent with it. So,
Right. That's a nice way.
Anyway.
That's a nice way to get into the faction if you're looking.
absolutely. So we both applied our blood instruments on each other, and turned out mine was a little more blunt.
You're quicker
So,
than more blunt.
I ran out of time a little bit slower than he did in that game. I was just a little more fluent with it, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh God.
And
Yeah.
afterwards, we both had a concussion and needed to sit down. It was great. Yeah.
You know, with the rec guys, did they have similar lists to each other, or?
So David had Kaelissa and Gorshade 4.
Yeah.
And I think
Right.
Roy had Assyria and I think Gorshade 4.
It's been a lot of
Uh,
Shade 4. He's really come into his own.
Yeah, Shade 4 is very strong.
Yeah.
And I think my understanding is that Assyria is advantaged into a Kaelissa Shade 4 pairing. And David lost the mirror. I couldn't tell you what kind of game
Right.
it was. I didn't watch it. And I got minimal. I asked him about it a little bit later. And I don't remember what he said, but it was not the same as a game that we played, that Conan and I played. I can tell you that. So, yeah, that game
Yeah.
also went like the wire, right? There were,
Hmm.
I think, less than 6 minutes combined on the clock when the game ended.
Oof. Right.
And I had to go straight into the final round after that, playing against Roy.
Oh, that's brutal. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I took a few minutes. I went to the bathroom, walked around a little bit, had some water, stretched out a little bit. You build some tension up in your body when you're
Yeah.
playing a game that comes down to the final few minutes and whatnot. So I took my time, but yeah, I go straight into the next game without any real meaningful length of time to break.
Absolutely.
And final
Okay.
game was streamed by the Wargames Games people. So
Oh,
if anybody wants,
that.
if anybody wants to watch me play a slightly better than mediocre game of Warmachine with Gearheart, that's where you can find it.
It was a
That's
cool
not
game
how
to
the
watch.
finals should be.
Yeah, I watched
Yeah,
it. It was cool.
I played what I feel was a decent game. I made some mistakes. We always make mistakes, and when
Yeah.
a game is recorded and you watch it later, it makes it real easy to, if you have a critical eye and you do this, to watch it and find the mistakes that you make and say, okay, here I should have done this, and I'll try to remember
Right.
that next time I'm in a similar situation.
Mm.
And I identified a handful of very clear I should have done this mistakes that I made in that game, which was helpful to me to grow with that list and as a player.
I think watching stream games back for yourself is like a really good learning aid.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
It's like being a boxer and watching footage of your fights. Like the fights where you get knocked out, they're the most painful. You don't want to watch them, but you learn the most, right? And then the fights where you win, it's difficult, or it's more difficult, but you can still learn a lot. You just have to be really critical and compartmentalize the outcome.
Yeah, don't be
and
like,
separate
I've won,
that from
it's fine.
the input.
But if you don't, it just becomes masturbatory, which is
Yeah, exactly.
fun as the term is, but it's not helpful.
Yeah, not when you're watching yourself. It's a little different
No.
when you're watching
No.
yourself. I don't know. And I have a hard time watching myself play, but I do it anyway when I have the opportunity because it's so valuable for growth.
Yeah.
I just see all the things I did wrong, and which is what you're looking for. But it takes a certain amount of willpower to force yourself to do that, I suppose.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to talk about that game too much because it's streamed.
Yeah,
you can watch it.
I'll stick
It was a very
link to
good
the guys
game.
in-
Yeah. Just let us know what the pairing was there. So that was
he played
was that Gearheart you
Assyria.
said already? Assyria, not Gorshade. That's interesting.
Right, he played Assyria. And
Because the serial list
here's a
was
problem with
like Silas, Hyperion, Hemera, one Trident, and then Unit Wardens, I think 3 Executioners, and then Double
Correct.
Ghost Snipers.
Yeah.
Iris 1 as
Iris
well, so
1.
she's got 3 deadly shotguns, And
Yes.
then Lanissa.
And Lanissa.
I assume Lanissa because she's in like every ret list.
By the way, I thought you'd all just like to know that privateers managed to confuse Apple. As soon as I mention Assyria, my
Siri pops up.
my iPhone pops up with Siri.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was a cool game. It's a bit of a different Assyria list.
It is. And the differences from typical Assyria lists, he also had a Fey Knight Guardian, by the way.
Yes, rather than
The
Silas.
differences make it a little bit better suited to fight into Ass Mountain. Because he has the three deadly shots or death bolts per turn.
Yeah.
And he has a shield guard, which is really helpful for non-Forges Assyria lists to deal with getting your Trident shadowbound.
All right.
It means I need to put both shots in the Trident, and if I miss the first one, I don't get to shadowbind it. Which, spoiler alert, happens at game turn 2.
Oh,
so
fun.
Yeah. That's the only spoiler I'm going to give you. So that people can watch it and enjoy watching me make subpar choices after the dice don't go my way
it's
on that
a long
one
game as well, though. That's neither of you. You might have made like little mistakes, each of you perhaps, but it didn't amount to like a railroad for the other player to advantage.
No, yeah. Like I said, it was a very good game. Neither of us made any massive errors. We both made mistakes, as we all do in every game of Warmachine.
Yeah,
but
of course.
I felt like he played at a good level. I felt like I played at a good level, and it was a pretty good game of Warmachine. But yeah, so with Hyperion also, because it has some decent range output, and it's not the easiest thing to remove if he doesn't advance it into feet range, and the 3 death bolts per turn, it gives him a good ability to fight turn-by-turn attrition game against my models that Assyria otherwise would lack with the gunshot she normally brings. Because a lot, like if you have tridents, those tridents do literally almost nothing to assault troopers and failed experiments that have decel and force aura. A trident rolls up and it's like dice off 11 against an assault trooper with all those buffs.
Yeah.
Even with her feet, it's like, all right, I do 1 or 2 damage here and there with those boosted damage gunshots. And then against a failed experiment, you're dice off 6 with impervious flesh. So if you don't boost, you're doing literally 0 damage. And if you do boost, maybe you do a few here and there, right?
Yeah, you're not taking it down.
Oh, well, I'm going to let it be nice and quick exit because I can hear little feet scampering towards me.
A child.
Yeah, but yeah, thanks very much for coming on, Brandon. It's super nice to talk through your games, and I'll put a link to the Warjacks guys. They've got the game up on YouTube, so people can watch it back. And yeah, it's a really good.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Super enjoyed it.
Yeah,
and,
it was great having you around.
Obviously, you're like as different as the time zone as we can get in the States, so it's appreciated you making time for us. Yeah, I'll ask a couple more questions before we go though. What's next for you? Are you like planning the next big con, and are you in for Belgium in October? Right, I must remember it's October now.
Yeah, right. First week of October, I think the 8th or the 9th. I spent some time thinking about it. I am going to apply for WTC, the USA, to captain one of the teams. Whether I'm selected as captain or not, no way of knowing. That's the committee's decision. We'll find out. But I'll put my hat in the game, and we'll see. And if I'm not selected as a captain, I'll still hopefully find a team that wants a decent Crucible Guard player to join their team. And if I make it onto a team, then I'll play. I have a good time going to WTC. It'll be cool to see some of you people in Europe that I haven't seen in years at this point. Belgium has some great dudes in it too. Really, really appreciated the welcome that we got from some of the local Belgian players when we were there in 2019. It always takes me a while to think back to the last time I was able to travel out of the country. So if I can, I'll go.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I'll look forward to it.
Fantastic.
Right, well, I'm being summoned to be snack bitch at midnight snacks with the girl.
Are you midnight snacking?
Yeah, apparently she's now hungry. She's like full on like I'm gonna see you through the night now. But yeah, cool, awesome. Thank you very, very much again, Brandon. Thanks, Evan, for joining us as usual, buddy. And I will leave everyone with that. So, cheers, guys. Good night.
Thanks for having me.
Steffel.
Bye.
Thanks so much. Cheers.